This is the Tecware Teal Switches, another linear switch from Tecware and is using wipe for the top housing and stems. So how do they sound and feel? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? Ox here and welcome back to my channel. We are back with yet another Tecware switches, and this time let's all take a look and listen at the Teal switches by Tecware. As mentioned on my intro that the materials that was used on the top housing and stem is wipe, which is really new for me. I've tried the wipe on their salmon switches, and this is my first time trying out wipe on a stem, and I am very much excited for you guys to hear the sound test. By the way, the switches were sent for a review, but I wasn't paid to make the video, so of course, I give you guys my unbiased and honest opinion about the switch. So in today's video, it's going to be the usual, a stock versus loop comparison, a sound test comparison with other linear switches, and of course, a material breakdown of the switch. And if you want to hear my own thoughts and opinion about the switch, please do stick around at the end of the sound test. And speaking of sound test, a quick disclaimer before we start. That the sound and experience may vary depending on your keyboard build, meaning to say we might have a different experience on the Tecware Teal switches and it might sound a bit different on your build. The keyboard that we'll be using today is the, of course, Vega 65 with a polycarbonate plate, a PCB 2-plate foam, and one case foam. The switches was lubed with a Cryodox 205 grade 0 and 105 grade 0 on the springs. The keycaps that was used was a GMK set. So with all of that out of the way, please do enjoy the sound test for the Tecware Teal switches. So that was a sound test for the Tecware Teal switches. Please do let me know on the comment section on what you think about them. Please do share your own thoughts and opinion about the switch. And before we talk about my own thoughts and opinion on the switches, you already know what's next. Let's break down the materials that was used on the switch. As you can see, this is a 5-pin switch and is using an MX style housing. Now for the top housing, it is using the wipe. For the bottom housing, it is using nylon. And for the stems, it is also using the wipe material. Lastly, the springs, which is a 63 gram. And also has a 63 gram for the bottom out force. So that was a material breakdown for the Tecware Teal switches, and if you made it up to this point, I would like to say thank you so much for staying. Again, please do remember that the sound and experience may vary depending on your keyboard build, meaning to say that we might have a different experience on the switch and it might sound different on your board. Finally, let's all talk about my thoughts on the feel. So, like the salmon switches, this uses wipe for the top housing and stem, and this is my first time trying out white stems, and right now I can't really tell the main difference between the palm stem and an wipe stem, and maybe just give me a few more months of breaking them in, maybe I will be able to tell the difference. So on stock, I do have the same opinion just like the past two Tecware switches that I've tried, that they do feel a bit sluggish and there's really that plastic feeling when typing on them stock. I don't think if it's due to the wipe materials on the stem and top housing. I also did feel some slight leaf bang, so again, with the Tecware switches, I recommend lubing them before using, and they did say that it comes in pre-factory lube, but it didn't feel consistent and almost little to none once I opened up the switches, so let me know if you have the same experience, or again, it's due to my batches. Once lube, it felt decent and it was smooth, but nothing really special on the switches. It feels like a typical linear switch with some decent weight to it. Typing on them feels good since it has a 63 gram spring and 63 gram bottom out force. It doesn't feel heavy or light, it's just in the sweet spot in the middle in terms of the typing feel. Now moving on to my thoughts with the sound. Honestly, I didn't really like how it sounded on my Vega and on my build. It sounded really muted for my liking. Now, before concluding this, I did ask like 4 of my friends who have tried the Teal switches, and all of them said that the Teal switches is kind of really muted, because I was really worried because I might have overlubed it, but I think no, and all of us thinks that the Teal switches are a bit muted. Don't get me wrong, I know some of you guys might like the sound profile as it has that deep sound pitch, but to me it's really muted, and I'm not saying it's a bad sounding switch, it's just basing it on my preference. So overall, I really like how Tecware released 2 linear switches, but both is far different from one another and not just a recolor of one another. Their clear switches is using the basic materials like the polycarbonates for both top and bottom housing and palm for the stem, while this one is using wipe for the top housing and stem and using nylon for the bottom housing. Although I didn't like how they sound on my build, it's still a decent linear that you can pick up, especially if you haven't tried the wipe on switches. I still like the clear switches over these, but I had fun trying them out. Again, a hobby is subjective, so it will still boil down to your preference. And also, I'm not sponsored by Zion Studios, but I've heard that they started offering the Tecware switches in packs of 10. So if you really want to try them out first without breaking your budget, I suggest go try them out in terms of picking them in packs of 10, or maybe you can pick up one box with 35 pieces. So yeah, that is it for the video, guys. I really hope you all enjoyed the review for the Tecware Teal switches, and please don't forget to leave a like as it really helps out my channel. And if you have of course your own thoughts and opinion about the switches, please do comment it down below on the comment section. I'll try to send them to Tecware as a feedback, so if ever they can improve on their switches in the future. So let's aim for the usual 50 likes, and I know we can do it. Thank you once again Tecware for sending them over. All of their links would be in the description down below. So what's next? Well, we do have one final Tecware switch, and that is a tactile switch. So please watch out for that sound test and the review. I think that should be up next week. So yeah, again, please don't forget to hit the like button, share if you want, and of course, subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys on the next sound test. Peace.